Whiskey and Wade going all the way. What up, world? Welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey and Wade Show with me, your host, Tommy Mack. And Tyrone is not here with us today because this man is out in Palestine helping out with the kids in the boxing gym. You know, Tyrone, he walks it and he talks it. And he's out there, he's putting boots to ground, doing what he can for the cause. He's not just a online activist. This man really puts in the work. And this episode is brought to you in association with the #1 competitions page in the whole wide world, R Kings. You can get cards, you can get money, you can get holidays. Just hit the website, get whatever you want. Just a couple pound, sometimes 50p. Throw your name in a hat, and you know you could change everything, change your whole life. Get yourself a wee praise, and also dream mentoring. Now, if you want to level up as a human being in business, no matter what kind of work, what you're doing in your life, if you want to go to the next level, you need to get involved with Dream Mentoring. Tom Smith has tailor-made a program to take people from here to here. So make sure you hit up Dream Mentoring on Instagram, on social media, on the website, and get involved in it. And we have another special sponsor for today, our very own Antonini di Apache Kakachi, a friend of ours, a friend of the show. He's sponsoring this episode. So thanks very much to the champ of the world, the greatest boxer ever born in this country. I've been saying it since 2002, and I'm still saying it. And thanks again, Aldo. Grazie mille. But today, we've got a very special episode. This is kind of something not that we usually do. But we've got a guest here. This man is named Emmett Lynch, and he is an unusual coach, something I don't need too much coaching in, a sleep coach. Emmett, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us on.
So let's get in this. What is a sleep coach?
What is a sleep coach? To be honest with you, what we usually do is kind of start off and tell people what a sleep coach isn't. So the thing is,
Well, what
that
isn't it?
what isn't is we don't put you to bed. We don't read you a bedtime story, and we don't snuggle in behind you and nurse you to sleep at night time. Eh? But what we do is, number one, my job is to take that anxiety, stress, and pressure out of sleep. If you're one of those fortunate people that can just go to sleep no bother as soon as your head hits the pillow, you are so lucky. For a lot of people out there, what we're seeing at the minute is kind of 1 in 3 people in Northern Ireland would struggle with kind of sleep on a regular basis. So my job as a sleep coach is to sit down with you and seeing how we can kind of make sleep a lot more peaceful for you. A lot of the time when people kind of come, it's usually because they're at breaking point, to be absolutely honest with your sleep. Something's happened. They've either had a near miss on a road traffic issue, they've made a blunder in work, or they're just at the stage now where they just feel really fatigued, they feel really run down, or when they think about going to bed, it's not happy days, I'm going to bed now to get a good night's sleep. It's, oh no, I have to go to sleep. And that's the real difficulties in it. So when people kind of come to me, there's different types of people who kind of come to me. So for example, you have county players, you would have boxers, you would have sports, like elite sports people would come to me, or even a person who's playing at a club level, at a very good level. Even Hydrox athletes or CrossFit athletes would kind of come to me and say, look, I want to increase the amount of sleep I get because I know that my sleep has a really good impact and positive impact on my performance. But then the flip side too is that you have someone come through the door saying, look, whenever I go to bed at night time, I'm lying on the sofa and I'm tired, but as soon as I go upstairs and I put my head on my pillow, my mind just decides to be super active.
And why is it?
It can be a number of things, really, for a person. It's so individualized, but life stress can be a really, really big one. So when someone is, and the thing is, Tommy, at the minute, is we're in a space at the minute where life is 100 miles an hour and everything had to be done yesterday. So whenever we look at sleep, it's probably one of the few times in our day where our head hits the pillow, where we're actually reflecting on the day that we've just had, where it's probably the worst time to reflect back on your day. And what I'm seeing more and more when I'm kind of working with people, people are finding that difficult to kind of switch their minds off. But my role as a sleep coach is to give you those skills and how you kind of do that, which is really, really important.
Like I would say I am a good sleeper,
Yeah.
but I do have that when I go to bed. Then my mind, I start getting all the ideas, and
Yeah.
I should do this and do that. And sometimes I get up and make like a note, right? Because I'll forget about this in the
Brilliant.
morning. But what you said, I've experienced too. When you're on the sofa and you feel like you're falling asleep, you go, right, I'm going to go to bed. And then you go to bed and you don't feel as tired as you did on the sofa. Is there any psychology behind being able to sleep on a sofa and not in the bed? Like,
There's a couple of wee things there, like, and I kind of always goes back to that quote that I always kind of think about is a ruffled mind makes a restless pillow. So if your mind's busy all day, right, you're either running around doing things in your job, you're then coming home and then you're being a husband, you're being a parent, you're worrying about bills, you're worrying about everything else. My thing is what we would do in sleep coaching is getting a person a sleep plan. But before we do a sleep plan, we have to do a thing called a sleep assessment and actually find out what is it that's causing you to think and feel the way you are before you go to kind of bed. So one of the wee techniques that we would have there is a thing called your golden hour before bed is the wind down before bed. There's nothing worse than you being super active in your mind and then all of a sudden you jump into bed and you're forcing your sleep to happen. Because the thing about sleep, you can't force sleep. Sleep is something that comes onto you rather than you trying to force that onto yourself. So what we would do with people is kind of work them back in their day. And one of the great things that I would suggest to anybody is a thing called a mind dump before bed. Is you think about all the things like you've kind of looked at there a wee bit about all your ideas and stuff like that, and you do that an hour before your bed. Is when your house is quiet, maybe kids are in bed, and you just have that wee hour, and that is where you're kind of writing down the things that you have to do the next day, the person that you have to email, the things that you have to chase up on, but then any ideas, aspirations, hopes that you have for the next day, or any things that you're thinking about in the future. So from a psychology point of view, it's actually proven that that actually reduces down those busy thoughts by about 50% when your head hits the pillow, because now you know we have a plan in place that's out of my brain and onto a piece of paper. Because if you think about it, from your right ear to your left ear, it's only about 6 inches. So your mind isn't really built to be super busy at those times of nights. So that is actually a really kind of good technique that I would kind of recommend. And if you work with a sleep coach, if it's me or with other kind of accredited and qualified sleep coaches, that's something that we would be working on regularly with people.
and how do you get in the sleep coach industry? Because you said there are other well-known and credited sleep coaches. You're the first sleep coach I've ever met or ever heard of.
Hi.
So how do you go, right, I'm going to start coaching people how to sleep?
Well, to be honest with you, I actually have something here I thought would be pretty cool to kind of read it
Yeah.
out, right? So I kind of prepared this, but so I'll kind of start off, right? So look, scientists have discovered a brand new treatment that can help you live longer. It can enhance your memory, make you more creative, make you regulate your weight, your mood, and your productivity. But it can also restock your immune system, right? It can also help fight off colds, flus, and cold sores if you're quite susceptible to them. It can also make you look younger, refresh your skin. So you might need to get those fillers or those kind of Botox, right? And another thing is that it can also help reduce your anxiety, regulate your mood, reduce the cortisol that's racing through our busy bodies at this minute in time. It's available every single night of the week, and there's 17,000 individual scientific studies to kind of back it up. And we've been talking about sleep since 35 AD with Roman Greeks and Roman philosophers. And see, the best thing about it, Tommy, it's free and it's available every single night of the week. I've always had a fascination with sleep because I love my sleep.
Get up, you lazy bastard.
Even
I'm
like
doing my homework.
I remember kind of being a kid, like, and I could sleep absolutely no problem. I could sleep around the clock for you. And for me, like, I've always worked in the field in homelessness and mental health and children and family. I currently work in the health service, so me being a sleep coach isn't actually my full-time gig, but someday I would love it to be. So how I kind of fell into it was working in mental health, working in addictions, working in recovery, working in homelessness and children and families. One of the things that was a recurring theme from all the different cases I've worked on and the meetings I've been on was when I talked to people, it randomly just kind of came up, to be absolutely honest with you. And the recurring thing that came up was people weren't sleeping. Most recently, I did a mental health workshop, and there was 18 people in a room, and I have a whole entire wee workshop that's dedicated to kind of sleep, and it can be bought by like community groups or workplaces or whatever. And we did this raise of hands, just generally, who gets a good night's sleep? And out of the 18 people, only 2 people are getting a good night's sleep. And I was just kind of scratching my head, going and think, right, that might just be a one-off. And then the following weekend, I was working with the men's group on this particular group, and said the exact same thing. Right, lads, who's getting a good night's sleep? Only 1 out of the 9 men were getting a good night's sleep. And then I started to kind of scratch my head a wee bit, and then I started to kind of ask people in work. I started to just kind of bring it up. And then what I started to do then was do my own research on it. And I've always kind of had that's to be honest with you, they try something new. And I know sleep for me is the pillar of your health. You know, if you look at the trinity of health, so the holy trinity of health is your sleep, your mental health, and your physical activity. But the reality is, when it comes to sleep, it impacts everything. Because if you think about it, like what's our mood like the next day after having a bad night's sleep?
Even with my kids, if they're up all night the next day, they're in terrible form.
They're in terrible form. Like I would find from kind of working with people, they would turn around and say, like, even for themselves, their patience is out the window, their concentration is out the window as well. And what's kind of bizarre as well, even their eating is out the window, where they're more than likely to go for those sugary drinks, a bun, they're looking for takeaways and stuff like that. And the reason why that is when we get a bad night's sleep is there's a couple of things there happens. There's 2 hormones that are produced in the body. One is your food satisfaction, and the other one isn't. And when we get a bad night's sleep, our body will lean towards that hormone that wants and craves those sugary foods. And it's just an evolutionary thing that we have in our body, is keep us going, keep us thriving. But to answer your question, why I decided to get into that space of being a sleep coach is because, to be honest with you, when I looked up on it, there was no a lot of people doing it. I love my sleep, and I know the benefits that kind of come when you get it. But see, to be brutally honest with everyone, we all go through periods where our sleep goes in flux. Like we can go through periods of stress when our sleep can go up or down. It can be maybe something that's happened in work,
something happened that day.
Something happens that
day.
Like
this keeps me up sometimes. Like I should have just smacked him. You're just lying there going, oh, Jesus. Next time I see him, I'm gonna say it.
You're going to say this?
No,
but then what I would find from kind of working with people, they would they're even ruminating things that happened 5 years ago. Like I remember working with this, and it was in a workshop, and the lady woke up in the middle of the night, and she was sleep talking, and which was quite funny, like but she was sleep talking and having a full blown argument, and her daughter turned around and goes like, "Who were you arguing last night?" She goes, "I was arguing with your father." She goes, "My daddy died 6 years ago." She was still having
still
those.
Can't get a break, in the afterlife. Still nagging.
But the reason why
R.I.P. that man.
The reason why I got on it is because I think it is an emerging area in health that I think we need to start to take a little more seriously.
Is there a thing where people aren't getting enough sleep? Can you get too much sleep? Is that part of the coaching?
That's actually a great question, to be honest with you. Can you get too much sleep? Well, what we would see sometimes in the world of mental health is if you're lying in your bed all day, every day, and you're just not getting out of bed, that can be a sign of other things, like your mood is quite low, you might be suffering from depression, anxiety, or other more serious mental illnesses, okay? Now, that wouldn't be my area of expertise. But in terms of can you get too much sleep, it would depend in terms of what other commitments that you would have that day. Like if you're...
What would you say is the optimum hours for sleep? I read it to say 7 to 8, but then Tom Smith, who sponsored the show and he was on, he's getting like maybe 5. Maybe if he's lucky, he gets 5. Probably getting 3.
And that's the thing, and that's something I'm really like hoping to kind of chat about today as well. There's a lot of myths around sleep.
Did you see that clip? That clip's going viral, but Tom Smith goes to bed at like 11 and he gets up at 3:30.
Yep. So there's a few wee things in that. Okay. So for years, there was always this mantra that you must get 8 hours sleep a night, no matter what. And if you don't get it, well, then it increases your chances of getting cardiovascular illnesses, of increasing blood pressure and dementia and diabetes. And there may be a link there, but the reality is, Tommy, that there's no Shangri-La, there's no, golden bullet or golden hour that you must get, because everyone is
Everyone's
individual.
different, yeah.
Okay, but in terms of setting the parameters around sleep, you'd be looking anything between 6 and 8. So if you're getting 6 and 8 regularly and consistently, those are the key words when we kind of talk about sleep, is a consistent, positive, regular sleep habit that you kind of get into. For those individuals that will be sleeping less than that, again, we live in a very busy culture now at the minute, and the idea of not sleeping is actually nearly endorsed, because look how busy you are, look how productive, look how.
But some people do have that thing where I'm not one of them. I need to get at least 8. I'd say 8 to 12 would be my optimum golden hour. But my father-in-law, he's a painter decorator, and he could maybe get 2 hours sleep and then still get up in the morning and then work all day and just be normal. Like if I had friggin' 2 hours sleep,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to move. I wouldn't be able to talk then.
And I would be the exact same. Now, what we have there, and this is what's really kind of important to talk about, this thing called sleep deprivation. Now, you can imagine sleep deprivation is like a big, long, elastic band, and like all elastic bands, eventually it will snap. Now, the consequences of being sleep deprived, you won't notice it really the next day, because you can kind of just hammer through. Do you ever get one of those days where you can just get through? But ultimately, it then
Every
starts to
day,
play.
I'm just struggling through.
What it can do is then start having an impact on, number one, what is scientifically backed is it's your concentration the next day that is actually impacted, and plus your ability to emotionally regulate the next day when you're not getting those good hours of sleep. If you're running around, and again, I have seen that clip, and if that's his lifestyle, well, then that's fine. But then there may be some health consequences maybe later on down the line. You may not feel it there and then, for like a week or 2 weeks, but over time, it weakens your immune system. A good night's sleep allows you to restock your immune system, allows for the growth of a thing called a human growth hormone. It allows for anti-inflammatory properties to kick off in your body. So these are all good, real healthy things. And my question would be, why would you deny your body that opportunity to recover? Because
what kind of sleep would you be getting as a professional sleeper?
for me, God, I love that term, a professional sleeper. For me, I would average between maybe 7 hours to 7.5 hours a night. And I would be quite, I'm not going to say strict, because when you're working, when you're a daddy, and when you got other life commitments, it can flux. But I regularly try to dial in about 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep. Each night of the week. But the thing is, what's really, really important when it kind of comes to sleep is consistency. So it's trying to go to bed at the same time every night. But the most important thing then is trying to get up at the same time every day. And why that's important is because it helps kind of set your circadian rhythm, which is your internal 24-hour clock within every human being's body. And that's really, really important for us. But also too, when we talk about sleep, we also have to talk about this thing called your homeostatic sleep drive, right? Which is the sleep pressure. So from the moment your feet got out of bed this morning, straight away your body is producing adenosine, which is a chemical that allows you to go to bed and sleep at night. So throughout the day, that's building up and it's building up, and it usually builds up to a max like limit when you're awake for about 14 hours. And then what happens is you go to your bed and you're sluggish, and then you go to sleep. But what can mess up that sleep pressure throughout the day is maybe drinking far too much coffee, far too much energy drinks.
So, what about drinking beer? You have a sound sleep drinking beer.
That's
You get the
probably
best sleep drinking beer. So,
you can't. Well, I don't know, to be honest with you. It's a double-edged sword, to be honest with you, right? When it kind of comes to the alcohol and sleep. Alcohol is a sedative, okay, which means that it's good, it'll knock you out, but it won't give you that recovery sleep that you need to perform the next day, because it's not a friend of sleep. Because when you take alcohol, but it depends on the amount of alcohol. If it's a beer with your dinner or a couple of beers for a meal,
right. So, if you're drinking coffees all day,
yeah,
and you go to bed at night, you can't sleep, you're buzzing, and then the next day you're drinking beers all day. You go to bed at 8 o'clock, and you're in bed again. You sleep right through till 9 the next morning. Like, surely that'd be better for you, wouldn't it?
Well, I would argue no, to be honest with you, but I understand why that
In
would
terms
be.
of sleep, I mean, obviously not better for you in life.
Well, look, the thing is about alcohol. Alcohol is a sedative, okay? So it's not a good substitute to kind of get people to sleep. I would be encouraging people not to do that if that's the issue, and to book in and talk to a sleep coach. Because because the thing is, when it comes to beer and sleep, it's a tolerance-based drug, which means that this week I might be a wee beer before nighttime, but then next week it might be two, the following week it might be three, and before you know it, you're having
You're in
the beers and
AA saying,
shorts, and
hi,
then
hi,
it's
I'm
it's
Emmett
a way.
Lynch.
So
I've been an alcoholic.
so it's kind of being quite mindful of that. But the thing is about beer or alcohol in general, it actually won't allow you to go into that deep restorative
Yeah.
sleep, nor will it probably allow you to go into REM sleep, which is really, really important as well.
What about people who have a smoke, like smoke marijuana to get to sleep? I have some cousins who have to smoke, and some friends have to smoke before they go to bed, and they say it gives them a good sleep. Is that like a no for the? Obviously, you're because it's illegal, but in the terms of the sleeping world, how would you feel about that?
For me, again, I would kind of go back to we have been sleeping since we first evolved, okay? And I am a big believer on sleeping naturally as best as you can. If an individual has to take those types of supplements to get to sleep, well, that's for them. But the thing is
Does
that
that count? But can you get a RAM sleep if you smoke the joint?
I don't think that you can to be honest with you, and there's a lot of long-term consequences when it comes to that if an individual has to take a drug to produce
Yeah.
sleep. I'd be actually asking them, look, maybe we need to get under the bonnet of what are the reasons why you're not sleeping, and that would
Mm,
be more important, and maybe talking about that out and trying to figure that one out rather than taking a psychoactive substance to promote sleep.
yeah.
And the reality is, when you are taking drugs or alcohol, you're not actually allowing the natural chemical called
To work.
melatonin
Yeah.
to work within the body. That's a double-edged sword as well, because when we don't allow melatonin to be produced within the pineal gland within the body, it's actually very difficult then when we stop taking drugs or alcohol to get that now to kind of kick in. And what we have found more and more is when that does happen, a person can experience a thing called a sleep rebound effect, where they might be more susceptible to insomnia and stuff like that there too. So the big thing is that if you're in that space, please reach out. First and foremost, always get reach out to your GP. And then if you think, yeah, look, that's something definitely I think I could look at. I love the fact that sleep's free. So if you're paying money to get something to get you go to sleep, but if
So
you
is the
talk to,
sleep coaching free?
no, it's not,
The double
unfortunately.
head sword in
It's
it. You
still,
get free sleep, but you have to pay to learn.
but the thing is like everything, it's worth investing
Yeah.
in.
So see, being a sleep coach,
Yep.
do you become almost like a counselor too? Because if people aren't sleeping because of some sort of trauma, do they have to tell you about the trauma? Do you have to be able to deal with what they're going through, or do you just say, right, just write that in a paper and close your eyes?
No, look, I think that's a great question, to be honest with you. And it's like every walk of life and every type of profession, you are going to listen to people when they
Yeah.
kind of come in the door. I come from a CBT background, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and I have been a counselor in the past. But that's not necessarily why
Mm.
someone would be coming. But if
But
someone
is that,
wanted,
see, you having that training?
mm,
Does that help you then
it
with
definitely
this kind of work?
does
Yeah.
come in really, really handy. One of the most effective ways to actually support someone who particularly is experiencing insomnia or sleep problems, a thing called CBTI, which is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, is getting you to think about what am I thinking, how am I feeling, and how my feelings impact on how I behave, and then how my body behaviors are impacting on that physical reaction or sensations in my body. So for me, when you are a sleep coach, you nearly feel as if you've got a tool bag down here to your left
Yeah.
hand side, and you dip into it every now and again to pick out the tools to support somebody. But again, that can differ on the person kind of coming in. Sometimes too, when you're working with someone who comes in with a sleep issue, it can literally be is that we just need to get them to either go to bed later, or we just need to get them to go to bed earlier. We also need to kind of think about is what are they doing throughout the day. So you've mentioned the thing here about coffee a few wee times. So for me, yep, coffee can be a big one, but it's not the Shangri-La of if you sort that out, then your sleep's sorted. For me, when it kind of comes to coffee and other issues like that, what we need to look at is, for me personally, is no tea or coffee or stimulant drinks probably after 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock. And the reason why that is because caffeine in particular, even decaf and all your teas, coffees, and your stimulant drinks, they have a very big kind of shelf life. And the half of that isn't actually really processed through your kidneys, through the enzymes in your kidneys until probably 6 or 7 hours. But that's only half the shelf life of that coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have guys turn around going, I take a triple espresso, or I take a double espresso, or I take 6 cups of coffee a day. But all that caffeine is pumping around their system.
You know, that'll be, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but people will be saying how coffee drinkers, I'm not one of them. I don't even drink tea, but people who drink tea and coffee, like I used to drink tea flat out, like about 10 cups a day. Every night before bed, I would have a cup of tea.
Yep.
And I've knocked that in the head the last year. But to stop drinking tea at 2 o'clock, you may as well just give it up altogether, because tea is for when you get into the house, isn't it? It's like a wee thing. I don't know. So
there is that. Like, and again, I talk about it in my workshops, and like everybody's all on board with the stuff about getting a bedtime routine.
Tea's such an Irish thing, isn't it? Like,
it's such an Irish thing, and it is a bit of a deal breaker for some people and stuff like that there too. But there are other things that you can take and replace. Obviously, if it's a herbal tea or whatever,
that's what I replaced with peppermint. Once I started drinking it, you can't look back.
It depends too on your tolerance, actually, when it comes to coffee and it comes to caffeine and stuff like that. So the thing is that the older we get, our tolerance of coffee actually kind of comes down. And the thing is that I'm actually like I drank coffee. I had 2 cups of coffee this morning before I came in here.
What time is it? Let's check. Or you're still within the parameters. It's 1:30. Make it the last night.
The thing is, when it comes to tea or coffee, so I'm not saying don't drink tea or coffee, but if you want to prioritize your sleep, that is actually one of the very simple things that you can kind of do. And the thing when it kind of comes to all those things is time and dose is the devil in the detail. Is the time when you take it, and then the dose and how much you take are the big factors you need to kind of think about.
Is there people ever come and they say, look, I can't sleep, but I don't know, like they haven't, well, they don't think they've went through trauma, they're not fighting with anyone, they just, for some reason, they just can't sleep. Does that ever happen?
That does happen sometimes, and it's amazing because when we actually get into a room and you're sitting opposite someone, it's probably the first time that they've ever retrospectively looked back and go, and you give them a minute to think, well, how come? You never ask why. You always ask how come, because you're not looking to judge them, and you might find around and goes, you know what I've noticed is that in work there's someone off sick, so my line manager now has given me their work to do, or I'm not getting on well with the ones in work. It can be even life pressures within the family home. It's not that they actually sit down and you give them that space, and you always go to where they're at. And that's what I really, really like about being a sleep coach. You calm things down, you take the stress, the anxieties out of sleep, and you go to where they're at, and you give them the space to kind of think back. And what you find is that there's usually an answer in it. And then what we do then is we then build a plan around it on how to get them either back on track. And then what the most important thing is, like all sleep things, is that you don't want a revolving door that the person comes back in 6 weeks later. For me, my goal as a sleep coach is to give people all the skills and knowledge I have. So then they go off and then they become their own sleep coach.
And then if the recommended sleep, say you were saying it was for 7 to 8 hours, see if you were getting an hour or two during the day, and then say, like when I was boxing, I would train and then go back to the hotel, sleep, get up, train again, and then that would be like come and have my dinner and then go to bed. But say I had 2 hours in the day and then 6 hours at night, would that count as 8 hours sleep?
It doesn't, unfortunately. It's not. I know what you're saying. Can you bank your sleep throughout the day? the thing is that there's no problem with napping. Okay, so you were an elite sports person. Okay, so that type of lifestyle would be very different to a guy who isn't an elite
Yeah.
sports person, where they don't have 2 hours in a day where they can go sleep. But when you were that elite sports person, you guys would be encouraged to sleep, because
Mm.
sleep is a part of your recovery. So when you train, you eat, you sleep, and then you get up and then you get up a couple hours there, and then you train
Do it
again.
again,
Because you were a professional athlete, that was your thing, and that would be probably good. It would be a really, really good thing. But the thing is, for the average person, 2 hour nap during the day would probably be a no-no.
yeah.
What we would be saying that it's completely okay to have a nap
So
during
see
the
if
day.
you're like a regular person
Yeah.
leading a regular life, are naps like a no?
Naps are good. I'm okay with naps as long as they don't exceed 30 minutes and that you don't have them after about 3 o'clock, to
I
be honest
actually
with you.
read a thing. The optimum time for power sleep is 26 minutes.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of science behind that as well. And the reason why that is because of a thing called the sleep cycle. So you got non-REM 1, non-REM 2, non-REM 3, and then you go into REM sleep. When you sleep for about 30 minutes, you stay in shallow sleep, which is non-REM 1, which is good because it's a wee booster for you, but it won't have a major impact on you that night when you want to get a full night's sleep. Now, if you have a person who may be experiencing insomnia, naps during the day would probably be a no-no. But my thing is, and I would say to everybody, think about your own safety first, is that if you are tired during the day and you have to do, say, for example, a long distance drive to pick someone up from the airport, or you're a taxi man, or you are a shift worker, definitely get those wee nap, get that wee
Yeah,
nap in through the day, a 30-minute wee booster during the day, nothing more than that, nothing after 3 o'clock. And what you'll notice is that your alertness is greatly improved.
yeah. So see, you said there are people with insomnia, they're like getting wee naps during the day, wrecks that makes their insomnia worse.
Yeah.
If you are able to sleep at some stage during the day, does that count? Like, are you still an insomniac? If you're
So
getting,
the
or is
thing
it?
the thing when we talk about insomnia is, unfortunately, insomnia gets a lot of stick, and there's a lot of stigmas and stereotypes with it. It's actually quite a common sleep disorder, to be absolutely honest
Mm,
with you. There's more people walking around undiagnosed with insomnia than there is people that are
mm,
diagnosed. And the thing is, when we talk about insomnia, there's acute and there's chronic. So we can all experience periods of acute insomnia if there's life stressors going on, or if there's life pressures. And that can be if your sleep is disrupted between maybe 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week for about a 2 or 3 week period. It then can gravitate then towards chronic insomnia if that problem now exceeds 3 to 4 months and it's impacting on 5 nights a week and stuff like that. So you can see how it can kind of differs.
yeah,
But if you
yeah,
are a person who is quite susceptible to the things I just talked about there now, my recommendation, and the recommendation in all the research is if don't be sleeping during the day, keep your sleep for nighttime when you're tired, because when you do have that nap during the day and you're an insomniac, it interferes with your sleep pressure and your sleep drive. So you might get a wee boost during the day, but then the consequence is it's going to increase that stress and that difficulty when you really want to go
yeah.
to sleep that night.
See, with teenagers, I have two teenagers, but I read a thing as well. Let them sleep. No way to sleep all friggin' day, and then get up, and it's like everyone's going to bed, and you're just getting up. But is that a good thing for teens to sleep like the 2 in a day,
The thing
or
is about teenagers, their setup is very different to an adult, to be honest with
yeah,
you. Now, I don't work with teenagers. I don't work with children. I really work
yeah.
with
I
adults
wouldn't say
on their sleep.
teenagers need sleep coaches anyway.
No, they
That's,
probably
that's
it
for
depends really, to be honest with you. I know like a few sleep coaches that would specialize in babies, and how to get a baby to
oh,
go to
geez,
sleep.
yeah,
So
that's a good one.
yeah,
Esther, she has a wee 1 year old. Is your baby sleep or?
yeah, she's a great
Uh,
sleeper.
my
And
kids never slept.
But the thing is, and again, I'm just mindful is that I don't have an area of expertise in, children's sleep. There are people out there that do, and they're accredited and they are qualified. So definitely check them out.
Yeah,
But I definitely, so a teenage sleep pattern will be very different than an adult's one.
yeah.
And
So
teenagers actually need more sleep. than an adult, because their brain is still developing, and your brain doesn't really stop
Yeah.
developing until you're about 21, 23.
That's what I read. They need to sleep because they're growing.
They're growing.
Everything's. But see what you're saying about the growth hormone that you get as an adult when you sleep. Is that just to boost like your energy and all that stuff? Is that why if you don't sleep, you can? Do you ever get a bad night's sleep and you see someone and like, oh, you look desperate? Like,
You look wrecked. Aye.
is that like if you're not sleeping? Is that what aids you? Because you're not
Well,
getting the growth hormone.
there's a few things there too. So the growth hormone, okay, so if we were to look at sleep in terms of cycles, so when we look at sleep, there's non-REM 1, and that is the difference on you going from awake now into a sleep state. Then you got non-REM 2, so the brainwave activity starts to slow down from day brainwave activity to sleep activity. So you're now starting to kind of slow down. Then you go into non-REM 3, and then that is when you go into your deep sleep, and that is when the human growth hormone is produced within the body, and that is amazing if you are an athlete like you once were, and other boxers and other county players and Gaelic players and any type of athlete really. But even for us as human beings, it's actually really good for our muscle recovery. It's also very good for making sure that we can get up the next day. It's also really good at, and it also our body actually produces anti-inflammatories the next when we go into that kind of non-REM free sleep. But that human growth hormone is key because it allows our muscles to repair, restocks our immune system, but it kind of puts the glycogen and glucose back into our system again naturally. Now, there's a lot of products out there that turn around and says we can do this, but the reality is the human growth hormone is produced naturally within the body, and that is the best way
The
to do it.
best way, yeah.
And then whenever we go into non-REM free sleep, which is your big deep sleep, we actually go into a thing called REM sleep, and that's where you dream. And that is when you get your emotional regulation and your emotional healing and your memory consolidation, which is really, really
You
good.
see, when you're dreaming, they say that's you're not sleeping properly if you can remember your dreams. Is that true?
No, that's not true at all. Like, it's a new one for me, to be honest with
You
you.
know,
But I
like
have heard that.
uh,
Yeah,
when they
yeah.
say, oh, if you're having a deep proper sleep, you're not dreaming because
Well, the thing is that it's not unusual for you not to remember your dreams, okay? So remember I just talked about non-REM 1, non-REM 2, non-REM 3, and that's non-rapid eye movement. That's what that means. And then you got REM, which is rapid eye movement. So when you go into your sleep, that's when you go into your dream sleep, which is your REM, your eyeballs actually move behind your eyelids, and they actually move back and forth, up and down, or kind of across. And you don't really notice, and we didn't really discover it until 1952. But to go back to what you're saying there about that kind of dream sleep, that's crucially important. But the thing is that we go through a full cycle of that once every 90 minutes throughout the period of our sleep.
it's you're
So,
having
so
dreams
you
galore. Yeah.
you go through it. So, say for example, the average person would experience that kind of cycle once, maybe 5, maybe 6 times a night. But the reality is, and this is why it's fascinating sleep, is because the human body will binge on non-REM 1, non-REM 2, non-REM 3 for the first half of your sleep. So just for your argument's sake, if you were to go to your bed tonight at 12 o'clock at night, see from 12 o'clock to 4, your body will binge on that first stage of sleep. And then what it does then, when it starts creeping before the morning, between say the hours of 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., your body then will really, really focus on REM sleep. So that's why sometimes too, it can be quite difficult to kind of get up in the morning time because you're in that deep REM sleep. And the thing what is amazing about REM sleep is we talk there, and the currency that we talk about when it comes to REM sleep is delta. So that's the delta brainwave, and that is kind of nice and sharp. And that's amazing because what happens there too when we're in our REM state, the body produces a paralysis, which basically means that your body is limp. It won't act out what you're dreaming. So if you're dreaming that you're Superman, you won't try to jump out the window. Or if you're
But
dreaming,
what about so now this has happened a couple of times, not too many times, but when you're dreaming that you're going to piss, and then you wake up and then you're pissing. You're like
you
what
gotta.
REM's that?
No, that's I've really probably when you're saying what REM is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
yeah.
REM is just a state, or it's a stage in sleep.
Have
What?
that ever happened to you?
No.
You come on, like, be honest here. Safe place here. We're in a safe space. Have you never
Not
felt
yet.
like you need to go to the toilet and you wake up and then
And
you're
you gotta shoot the
uh,
loo straight away.
yeah, or maybe too late?
No, to be honest with you, I'm lucky enough. That's not to say it won't happen, but it hasn't happened yet to me, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. But the thing is that when it kind of comes to dreams, right? When we talk about our dreams, the whole science behind it, we're actually still very much in mystery mode, and it's
Yeah.
actually why we dream. There will be a lot of research out there to do that's actually very good for looking after your emotional and mental health when you are in REM sleep,
Yeah.
because it's got really strong emotional healing properties. Um, but outside of that, why some people can come to me going, Emmett, I have this recurring dream all the time. And I turn around and go, look, I have no answer for you as
Mm.
to why. Because the mystery around sleep is amazing. And we have had so many sleep researchers. You have had Nobel Peace Prize winners. You have had Sigmund Freud even tried his hand at trying to figure out why we dream. And the reality is that they've always kind of come up short. In fact, what they found out when they went on to try to find out why we dream, they found out that they knew less than what they knew at the start, because it is a conundrum and it's a vault that just hasn't been cracked yet.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when it comes to sleep, is from an evolutionary point of view, we've always slept, and we've always slept, and there has to be a reason why Mother Nature has carried that through the millions and millions of years of evolution. And the thing is, so there has to be
And
something in
everything
it.
sleeps, so animals, no.
Absolutely, everything sleeps on planet Earth. Now, we would differ, mammals, like us human beings and mammals and birds, our sleep patterns would be very, very different to other type of insects and stuff like that there too. But the one thing that connects us all is that we all sleep, but not everybody dreams.
Mm. Well, that was very, very interesting. Thanks for coming on the show. Hopefully, people can get something out of that if you're struggling with sleep. Where if anyone in Derry is struggling with sleep and they want to get use of your services, where can they reach out to you?
Well, I have an Instagram account.
Okay.
I've only been new to social media. I didn't have social media now since the first lockdown. I just kind of went off it, but now I have
Sleeping
to.
in,
So now I have to
pun
get on.
intended.
Now now I have to kind of get on the whole kind of social media thing. So if people would mind, Tommy, if
Yeah,
they
go
could add
ahead, plug
me
it. What is
on
it?
the it's called Adult Sleep Coach NA. It's on Instagram. Um, happy for them as they go on the page, like it, share it with their family and friends. No worries at all.
Okay.
And I'll also now in a couple of weeks I'll be working out of your physio in Derry. But again, the fact that I'm regional based, so if anyone in Northern Ireland, if any of your listeners
Yeah.
from anywhere within the
Anywhere?
country
Okay.
wanted to kind of reach out, happy to do online coaching sessions with them or in-person sessions. But a wee shout out to your physio, because I'm going to be working closely with them now, a part of their kind of team over there.
Happy days. Brilliant. All right, folks. So there we have it. Another episode in the bank. Like I said, Tyrone's over there in Palestine doing the good work that he said he was gonna do. And we're all behind you, Tyrone. They're doing great stuff out there. Big shout out to our Kings, Dream Man Torn, and the champion of the world, Ando Kikati. Make sure you get the Patreon. It's £2 a month, and we'll see you next week. Peace. Woo! Let's see him going all the way.